Hello, everyone. Welcome to May 20th. It is the May 2025 regular meeting of the LGBTQIA plus Commission for the City of Pittsburgh. We are going to start with roll call. Please say aye when you hear your name. Leonard Orbovich.
Aye.
Oh, perfect. Catherine Calhoun.
Aye.
Julian McLean.
Aye.
Richard Parsakian.
Here.
Sean T. Porter. Sarah Rosso. Derek Tynes. Guillermo Velasquez. Kevin Carroll has an excused absence today. Barb Warwick. Donald Donovan.
Here, aye.
Alexander Gray.
Aye.
And Anne Marie Ellison.
Aye.
Wonderful. We have met quorum, everybody. I sent out the minutes for March 2025 and April 2025, honestly, just about an hour ago. If we do not feel comfortable approving them because y'all need more time and want to wait either to the executive meeting that happens in 2 weeks or to next month, that is totally fine. Or if we want to approve it, that's also fine, but I would need to hear a motion or an opinion in this instance as to what we want to do with that. Any?
Sorry, I haven't got a chance to review them, honestly.
Okay, fine.
So
We'll push until next meeting. Let's just hold off on them. So we're gonna push the March and April 2025 minutes to next meeting. We will also have another set of minutes that I will get out much earlier for everybody to be able to review. And so we will be reviewing May, April, and March for next meeting. Moving along to public comment. We have had no specific public comment, but in the last few days, I have had a few people sign up to get any information or emails from the commission, but no specific questions or asks of the commission, just people signing up to hear about the work that we are doing. So as we have future events, as we get closer to Pride, I'll send a blast out to let people know that we'll be there.
quickly, is there any reason why we feel like we have an influx of interest?
I know we're going to talk about like the P-Town incident later, if that's like the illusion. I have no idea. They did not put anything like that into the little section where they can say why they're asking to be involved. I saw that people just wanted more information or they left it blank. So yeah, I don't have a specific reason as to why more people joined, but it was only like 3 or 4 people in the last few weeks.
Great, thank you.
Cool. Moving on, perfect segue, Julian. Moving on to officer and standing committees. Are there any reports from the co-chairs this month?
Our only report is that we had our first executive meeting. Yay. And then we'll have our next one in a couple of weeks, like Adriana said. But I think that maybe we just need a little discussion, CC and I, about what our report will entail. And maybe you'll
Absolutely. Thank you for that.
And I second Julian.
Wonderful. Any questions for the co-chairs? Wonderful. Moving on to the outreach coordinator report. Alex, do you happen to have any report for this month?
I honestly do not have much to report. I did try to work with Kevin Williams, who is the liaison for city governance at the University of Pittsburgh. He apparently, quote, forgot that today was election day. I'll be honest with you, I have not been impressed with the institutional commitment to meeting organizations like ours. And yeah, it was noted. I'll just say it was noted, and I'll leave it.
If there's anything I can do to help with any of that, please let me know, Alex. We can definitely connect offline and figure out how to, put our brains and skills and all that together. But I am sorry that you've hit a little bit of a wall there and hopefully we'll be able to make some
Yeah.
movement there by next month.
But that was about it.
Great, wonderful. Does anybody have any questions for Alex?
Questions for Alex, but I do want to mention that Alex made a couple of documents for us to make public, as well as we also talked about during our executive meeting having a community calendar where we'll place some events on, and I think that both falls under community engagement. But yeah, so and in our discussions as well, we talked about a happy hour, occurring at happy hour partnership with Trace Brewing and True Tea, and being a open door, or in that instance, a vehicle for people to come physically meet us and things like that nature. So on the third Thursday of every month, and then yeah, that's it.
Wonderful. Yeah. And Alex, while I know that you probably haven't gotten started on the calendar yet, and that's totally fine. We can make some time for me and you to meet and figure out any support that you might need on that, if that would be helpful.
Sure. Yeah, mostly I think it's just about access and using what tools are preferred.
Heard. And that actually reminds me that I have to follow up and figure out how to get into our social media accounts. So thank you for that reminder. Yes. All right. Any other questions or comments before we move on? Wonderful. We'll get into reports of special committees, specifically Pride planning. So I just have some updates for everybody about how everything has been going. We officially are in the parade and we have a table. Those things are figured out. Very happy about that. We don't have I was talking to Dina. Sorry, my dog is sketching herself and just sounds really dangly in the back. We do not have a specific place that we have to be in the parade, but theoretically we would be near the mayor, since he also walks in the parade. So we can meet in a similar spot. I will be sending, following up probably tomorrow from this meeting, I will be sending out the sign up for you to table at Pride. We're going to be tabling. I'm going to set up roughly around 12:30 and I will be there until 5 p.m. So we'll probably start cleaning up about 4:45. You are not expected to be there the whole time by any means. I know Pride is an incredibly important celebration for our community, and I would not want you all to have to dedicate 5 hours in the middle of your Pride festival to the commission. But if you can spare a half hour or an hour to be able to be at the table, to meet people and just talk about why you are a commissioner and why this is important to you and what you want to do for the community, I think that would be really impactful. Obviously, I'm more than happy to talk about all the wonderful work that happens here, but I think it's very meaningful when community members are able to put a face to the representation they have and the voice that they have within city government. So I will be sharing that tabling form. Again, you don't have to tell me. Oh, please, Richard, is your hand up.
I again will be marching with the historic Pride flag.
Wonderful.
Which is always at the beginning of the parade. So if people want to join that, or if they have friends, it's always open to everybody. It's a 30-foot by 60-foot flag. We'll be right behind the Dykes on Bikes, our classic position. I don't march under any banner. I just feel it's the people's flag that I had fabricated about 30 years ago. So that's another option.
Yes.
So
yeah, no, absolutely. I'm more than happy to extend that if the commission would prefer to get towards the front, towards the flag, that's totally fine too. We don't have a banner, but I am thinking about taking a really long pole and putting our tablecloth over it and just walking with that as our banner. It's going to work the same way. Speaking of which, our tablecloth is ordered with the logo that has been approved by the commission. I told them very forwardly, we need that before June 1st. So I am expecting to get it next week and I'm very excited. We also have pamphlets. The pamphlets have been ordered. I did show them to the exec team. We're getting about 200 of them. We're going to have them at our table. I asked for stickers of our logo, the logo that was approved, as well as our LGBTQ Know Your Rights cards are going to be there. So those are 4 branded things that we will have specifically for the commission that will be there. I will also, as usual, bring candy. We'll have a suggestion box, anything else that people think of that would be beneficial to the table. We'll have a sign-up sheet if people want to learn more about the commission. But if anybody thinks of anything in the next few days, I definitely want you to be able to bring it up to me. If things that we probably wouldn't be able to order other merch, but if there's like interactive activities or anything like that that you think would be beneficial to the table, please feel free to reach out to me about it. But yes, we will be marching. I believe lineup is around 10:30 in the morning, and then I will be tabling from about 12:30 to 5. Does anybody have any questions about Pride before we move on? Wonderful. Alexander created a wonderful statement for Pride. I'm more than happy to have us display it if Alexander is fine with it, to display it now, critique and or just vote to approve. Or if people would like some more time to review it, we could send it out and then I could have the exec team meet and just kind of vote on it, and everybody would be allowed to come to that meeting to have a vote. So I will leave it up to the commissioners themselves as to if they'd rather vote on a Pride statement now or later. But obviously we would have to do it prior to the end of this month. Thoughts?
I vote against. No, just kidding.
I got a chance to read the document that Alex created, and I liked it a lot, especially the ode back to travelers. My personal, I didn't know, I mean, this might not be appropriate, but like, and you always miss somebody important, but thanking like current organizations and leaders for taking the lead on our current community like stance. But then also, like, I know if we thank somebody, we're gonna forget somebody, and it will be, at least for True Tea and stuff like that, that always happens. So I don't know how much for the commissioners, but yeah, I take it back. I motion to approve the letter.
Do we have a second?
Second. Well, I haven't seen it, so I'm going to have to abstain because,
That's reasonable. Yeah, I think I might be wrong, but I think when Alexander first shared it out, it was just to the executive committee. So I think in the nature of fairness and the fact that we have just one Pride statement a year, and I want to make sure all the commissioners are able to read it and take time with it, would everybody be all right with us taking, let's say, a week and then having a meeting next Tuesday and being able to vote on whether or not to approve it or any edits? Would that be all right with everyone?
Should we do it by email, like approval? Yeah, just
Do it by Google, yeah.
to speed it up.
I mean, I could, if everybody's all right with it, I could make like a form in which you just read it and then you review it. That's totally fine with me too. And then I can just send a reminder for everybody to do that if that works.
That sounds good.
Cool. Any concerns or issues with any of that?
I just want to be sure that it's out before May 29th.
It will be ready. We will make sure of that. If we miss the Pride statement, I feel like that would look crazy. So we're gonna make sure that all of that is together. I promise. All right. So I will send the statement to everybody, and I will ask that you fill out the form by next week so that we can release it next week. All good with that? Wonderful. Moving along. Because of other things like Pride planning and some of the discussion we're going to be having today, had to put off the Outfest planning, which is difficult because we can really not push it any longer if we want it to be successful and wonderful and amazing. So I have put down a date on the agenda, May 28th. I will be sending out an invitation to that meeting. As I've said before, if you're not able to make that, that does not mean that you won't be a part of the planning. I will try to space them out on different days so that it accommodates as many people's schedules as possible. But really, it's going to be kind of an open idea, kind of brainstorm situation, because I really don't want this to be thought of as my festival or just the mayor's festival. This is really supposed to be for our community. So I will be sending that out and just wanted everybody to know that that has not been forgotten by any means. Any questions regarding Pride or Outfest? Lovely. And again, I will be sending out all the information y'all need for Pride to be able to be involved with both tabling and parade. Moving along to unfinished business. I really want to give us all a round of applause for since the logo has been approved, we no longer have that as an item of unfinished business, and I'm so proud of everybody for coming together and being able to approve that logo. Our unfinished business at this time is our unisex restroom recommendations, which we are currently just figuring out calendars with PLI, the permits and licensing, and the Department of Public Works and Barb's office and me to be able to meet and talk through zoning. And in the meantime, I am just waiting to get an intern so that I can send them around to every single facility in the city and tell me what kind of bathrooms there are, which I'm very excited to give either a high school or college student this responsibility. I think they're going to have a great time. The SOGI training, as I updated you all last month, we have an upcoming Vibrant training that is going to be LGBTQIA oriented. All of you will be invited to that, but that is later in the year. And so in the meantime, I am still working with HR to figure out how we can get folks trained. But any kind of training or education, we are going to be involving the commissioners and ensuring that y'all have some sort of insight to that training so that you know exactly what kind of education the city is giving to their staff as far as working with our community and being around other members of our community. Any questions about unisex restrooms or SOGI? Lovely. This is actually, this meeting is moving quite quick, but it's because everybody's here for a very difficult conversation, which is in new business. And we are starting with the P-Town compliance check. So first and foremost, just in case anybody had missed any email that I had prior, I had invited the LGBTQIA liaison to the police department, Eric Baker here today. I believe he is here. Yes. Thank you, Commander Baker. From just transparency, I obviously did not know that this was going to happen prior to it happening. Commander Baker also did not know that this was going to happen prior to it happening. I will say that as soon as we became aware of it, we were involved in conversations with our leadership about not only the cultural impact of this whole situation, but also how we can improve these things in the future and ensure that this is not happening again in the way that it did. And so I'm going to give Commander Baker some space to talk through the situation. I'm happy to chime in about any information I have, and then we can answer questions and talk through any things that the commissioners want to talk through. Does that sound all right? Great. All right, passing to you, Commander Baker.
Hello. Thank you for the invite. I appreciate it. I am trying to navigate this space, I think, like everyone else here is. So I don't really know how to approach this in a really productive way.
Like, if it would be helpful, I'm happy to start off. I don't want to put you on the spot.
I think part of something I've always tried to do in my job is to calm more problems than I create, just in government. And I don't know. I don't want to create any more, but at the same time, I will tell everyone very frankly, and I do understand that this is being recorded, and I'm not going to say anything I haven't tried to say to my organization. I think that primarily, I don't have a problem with enforcement of code. I didn't at the time. In fact, I was actually supposed to be there that night socially. But I have what I think is more alarming to me, and I'm happy to share with you what I know or what I've been told. is the almost zero organizational empathy in the aftermath of it. In the sense of trying to have the conversation with my peers and leaders, do you understand why? Do you understand what these things mean, what they are? And it actually, I was surprised to find that Monday after, I dealing with kind of that all weekend and talking to people and meeting with people, and the sort of lack of interest, the disinterest, was alarming even to me. And I'm pretty cynical about this stuff to begin with. So I actually got mad. Like I actually yelled. I raised my voice. I felt stuff that I didn't think I still felt about the organization. Like I think that in my mind anyway, not that anyone asked, but I think that, when you have a disinterest, like a level of disinterest, it speaks to a level of privilege and an audacity to be able to use it. And it's almost worse in my mind than targeted behavior, because that means you'll just go with anything. So not to, really get the party started, but, I'm happy to answer any questions or talk or share or tell me how I can help the community. Also, I didn't get the note that this was virtual, so I'm in the city county. Sorry if there's a noise.
Well, first and foremost, thank you for being so candid and honest and also vulnerable. That I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah. To go off of that, thank you, Alexander, and thank you, Commander. I think that we can express, I guess, initial concerns that we just have, like as a community member. The raid actually happened for a fundraiser for True Tea, so it directly kind of affected my organization, and people were just so we got feedback on it personally, and they were just like, well, it made us a little scared to go back, like when will there be another one. So reassurances, like how can somebody I guess anticipate, or how can we move to say, like, maybe this is due for code compliance, and maybe dates or whatever. I don't know what the processes are. Maybe there's some sort of protocol that we can, I guess, look at to see, like, did they follow it? I don't know. There was just those kind of concerns, like, can we see the processes? Do people usually come armed with rifles and things like that to a code enforcement or code compliance type of deal? Because it's felt excessive. But yeah.
You want me to?
I'm happy to chime in a little bit about what I know here, and maybe if I'm missing anything, or Commander Baker, if you feel the need to chime in, feel free to. A few quick things. So from my conversations with the director of public safety and the chief of police, they had said that this task force is comprised of like roughly 5 or 6 different departments, and it is not uncommon for them to be 20 plus people, and that they usually they're going off of tips, like anonymous tips that are going into multiple establishments in a night in which they are kind of together. Again, Commander Baker, if I'm getting anything wrong here, please feel free to chime in.
No,
so it is not uncommon for there to be that many of them, for some of them to be armed. Some of my concerns, just to be totally honest, were around, people are just seeing a ton of people come into a bar and tell you to leave, and a bunch of those people are armed. Like, are we being transparent with people? Why do we need so many people, etc.? I was told that that is around, if they were doing a compliance check around something like occupancy or safety hazards and somebody became violent, that that is the reason that people have weapons in case something were to escalate, that they need to be able to respond. My concern was, do those people know that? Do the people that you're telling to get out of a bar, do they know that you're there not to intimidate them, but to protect them in case of an emergency? And I was told that it is not the usual protocol to tell people that exactly why. And so that was inherently a little bit of a frustration of not that it would have solved everything in the situation, but I think a little more communication, empathy, and transparency with the folks that were being told to leave the establishment would have probably helped a little bit to ease some of that concern. Again, wouldn't have solved everything, but I think people at bare minimum deserve to know why they're being asked to leave an establishment, especially if they have done nothing wrong. That is something they are now looking into, reducing the total number of that task force. At least I was told that, as well as talking through the possibility of giving more of like a warning if you have gotten some sort of tip, rather than just following up with an in-person kind of task force compliance check. So that is the information I have at this moment. And I am, again, feel free to fill in if you feel like anything is off or missing, Commander Baker.
So I would, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think I don't know like how those conversations went with Chief Devine. My conversations with him were very curt, very all the things that I know that people hate about us. Like, yeah, look, I mean, so I'll back up. Like historically, when Farm Bar P-Town, this renovation had been done, right? By the previous owners, is my understanding from him and his architect. Buying a property, he bought the liquor license, he's renting the space from whoever owns that building. He assumed everything was up to code. Why wouldn't you? Now, anecdotally, I will also say that PLI is the most frustrating city department to deal with. I have a friend that has a cigar bar in Bloomfield, and it was like a running joke because he had a liquor license for like 10 years and he had no occupancy permit because it was just, you couldn't navigate the department, right? So I don't think there's anything nefarious there. I think it's this government being good old fashioned government. I think that where we kind of run into trouble in law enforcement. So I've been doing this job too long, so I don't get too antsy about the number of people, but I'll also say, and I'm willing to probably hazard a guess, that some of them were not police, some of them were maybe firefighters or building inspectors or state liquor control agents. But at the same time, all the things that Adrian just said, like, so this is a complaint about occupancy that comes in through the fire bureau, right? And it does, but like, is it anonymous? How did it come in? How do I make that complaint as a city resident about Coughlin's Law? How do I do that? If I call up the fire bureau and say I saw a rat, do they call the health department or vice versa? And moreover, does that bar with the occupancy complaint, not violation of that complaint, does that get the same response as the bar that had a shooting in it last week? And the answer seems to be yes. Now, in the minds of law enforcement, I can tell you what we're thinking. We're treating everyone the same. That's good. But maybe we want a little bit more evolved thinking from our police. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what those steps look like. I don't know what that, I have been asking. based on the conversations I've had with Q-Bird, other people in the community, I've kind of reduced it to like 7 or 8 questions and have kind of told everyone, I really sort of need these answers and I need them explained to me as a layperson. And I think we need to know them by Thursday. Definitely, because obviously there's an event there with Representative Mays, and she's gonna obviously it's gonna come up. And there was a pre-meeting yesterday. I understand was very productive. I wasn't invited to. So I guess I don't know, but I have a lot of the same questions that you do with it. And again, this is nothing crazy. These are just process questions. Is there a policy? Is there a process? Was it followed? Why are the people dressed like this? Why are they? And again, like, okay, it's an enforcement action against the bar. So like maybe it's the bar owner's business to know and tell people if he wants or whatever. Where we tend to get into trouble in this job is there's a lot of things we can do, but should we? And there's a lot of things we don't have to do, but maybe we ought. And that's usually where we get ourselves in these situations. And that's a perfect example where just, quick 10 minutes of talking to people, telling them what's going on, maybe makes everyone feel a little bit better. Not happy, but a little bit better. I don't know. I know. Well, I'll stop for a minute because I see there's a hand up and I don't need to like bore everyone with my thoughts.
Richard, I see your hand.
Thank you. Thank you, Commander Baker. That's your title, Commander Baker?
Eric's fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
Eric. Okay, thank you. I know we met at the town hall, so thank you for being your honesty and trying to work through this. And I know it's very painful having to be in a department where you see some of these issues that haven't been resolved in my history, 50 years. Coming back to the old House of Tilden, where there were regular raids. Back then, it was more about people being of age, not occupancy. But coincidentally, it always happened during May primaries. So we always felt that, okay, it's a primary, we're going to get raided. And who else across the city are straight bars being raided? Are bars on Carson Street, are they being looked at in terms of compliance? So that feels like we're being targeted. I know last year, 5801, or it might have been last year or the year before, right at Pride. And it was, and now they're compliant. When I heard about this, I was not there. The first thing I thought was occupancy. I have a degree in architecture, so I understand that completely. Fire exits, you have to look at the safety of your patrons first and not overcrowd. But the good part was how the patrons were, it sounded like they were very polite to everyone. Julian, I didn't know it was a True Tea event. That makes it even more of a dynamic issue when you think of maybe a Black organization might be targeted.
I do want to just insert myself in there. That's it. The new title drag performer, I forget her name, unfortunately, but it was her performance as a fundraiser for True Tea. So it wasn't but it did affect how much money she raised, and she did say that it pretty much halted it. So we could have raised more money if we. So that's how it affected us.
So you were just the beneficiary of the event. So I had actually last Monday, Representative Mays had a birthday fundraiser And I was on the Zoom call and we talked about this very specifically. And she mentioned the event that's happening on Thursday. Unfortunately, I'm getting ready to go out of town for the weekend, so I will not be there. But her concern was the overkill, the number. That would be my first impression, like why all of these departments at one time, when if you're not compliant, you don't have to be there at that time. You could come another time to look at what some of the issues are. I know they are trying to go at the time where they realize there's overpopulation of the space. But I just felt just understanding from secondhand conversation that this would be very terrorizing for patrons who are not aware of some of these little nuances of the history of our community. And and obviously we're right in the middle of Stonewall, celebrating this issue of what happened in 1969, and the blowback from. I actually had a friend who was at Stonewall in 1969, who was a homeless youth, and it's very painful for the elders to see that this is continuing under the guise of compliance. And I understand that was an issue, but still, I think the timing and the way it was handled, and again, what other establishments across the city are being targeted, or not, I don't want to say targeted, but looked at more carefully. I think that's enough of what I need to say.
Thank you, Richard. I also see Alex hands raised as well. And I do want to mention as well, like contemporarily, like there's raids going on, ICE raids. And if I was a Latinx person, like that would be terrifying to me if I didn't know what it was for, if they're not telling, even if they were nice about it, like there's still trauma that affects me today. And but yeah, sorry, Alex. Thank you, Richard.
No, I completely agree. I really think that with many things, there's the act or the event itself, and there's also the cultural understanding of what it means. And I feel like police raids in the gay community at a gay bar, talk about trauma. Like, I can't think of something more so. Richard, I can't wait for you to read what I wrote, which basically references exactly these things. During an age when many of us just feel really scared, really honestly scared and not sure about what is going to happen next. So I'm also just curious, and maybe this is a little like conspiracy theory. The way that complaints about occupancy, are they like verified? Is there a way that, for instance, someone could, with personal beef with a bar owner, game that system to sort of cause something like this? I know that's sort of far-fetched, but
I think so. I mean, so here's what I would tell you. This is why this area of the law is so problematic, is because it's like the vehicle code, which is something that most police in the state can enforce, right? It tends to be liability law, meaning that like it's kind of absolute, driving's a privilege, et cetera, et cetera. In these cases, you're talking about code enforcement. And so there's very few circumstances when you're talking about that stuff where there's constitutionality at stake. So what that basically means is there is no vetting of what's occurring. There's no neutral fact finder. There's no warrant needed. There's no judicial oversight. There's just code enforcement, right? And that's a very clever thought you had, because I had I immediately went there, was thinking, okay, how do we know that the same guy that makes the complaint on the gay bar isn't the same complaint, doesn't get the burner Gmail address and then send, I don't even know how the complaints come, right? Call,
Right.
email.
Exactly.
So like, and why don't I know that? Why can't I know that? I don't know. But, so how do you know that that person isn't the same person that's calling in on a Latinx bar, that's calling in on, person bar, patronized by persons of color primarily? How do you know? I don't know, right? And is there any vetting that happens? Or what's the threshold for a raid? Call it inspection, call it whatever you want, but like, what is the threshold? Is it clearly it's one occupancy complaint, right? So like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
It's funny because I worked at Twitter. I know, forgive me, everybody. And I worked there, and there was a really intriguing trend we all witnessed, which was people using copyright complaints to harass other users. So there's like ways that you can use these systems that are supposed to be keeping us safe, right? To not to enact petty revenge isn't the right word, but to sort of influence how things go. So, anyways, that sounded very conspiracy theory, and I apologize.
I will give, as much transparency as I possibly can in some of the conversations I've been having around this. Because honestly speaking, one of my first questions for both the chief and director were, I've been to North Shore. I have seen McFadden's where kids are literally dancing on bars, like, and encouraged to. And that's super risky. I mean, one person slips and they fall into a mountain of alcohol and glass. One person slips and they, break their back on a chair that they fall into. And that happens every single weekend. And so I was myself curious about both the health and safety concerns around something like that. And I was told just no one's complaining about them, apparently. So I hear that. And I do just want to say we have no proof that this complaint or tip was made maliciously or was made for any other reason besides somebody, knowing that the bar was over occupancy. I also want to go back to something Commander Baker said, which is the bar owner did not know that he was out of that his business was not properly permitted when it was renovated. And he had every reason to believe that it was able to have a higher occupancy than it did. And I also just want to say, while I agree PLI is a very complicated process and can definitely have some issues, some delays, some concerns, they are already working with both the owner of the building and the bar owner, the new owner, to ensure that they can expedite that process to the best of their ability, that there are no longer barriers to that, to the bar owner being able to have a higher occupancy. But again, as Richard was saying, there's a lot that goes with doing that, including like sprinklers, fire exits, other things that need to happen, because we don't want people to be unsafe in any business in the city. But I also agree with Commander Baker in the fact that there was not necessarily a full understanding as to why this is so impactful to our community. I also had conversations in which it was very clear and cut of like, we're following protocol. It would be wrong for us to treat this community any differently than we would treat another. And it goes back to just because you are following protocol does not mean that protocol is perfect, does not mean that system does not need to be looked at or that there aren't things that can be improved to create better relationships with community members. Just because you are concerned about the occupancy of a business does not mean we need to go straight to 20 plus people telling everybody to leave in the middle of a drag performance. And I feel like there are meaningful steps that can be made, including more transparency about the bars in which they are going to, a better warning type system. Hey, we are telling you there has been some sort of tip that you have been over occupancy. Before we come to your restaurant, your bar, etc., and do that check in person, we are giving you that warning that you need to ensure that you are following your occupancy, as well as better communication between patrons and police or any, fire. It is, from my understanding, it was also like liquor and the tobacco board and all that were there, and having better communication between patrons and them to ensure that they have an actual understanding that they're not supposed to be there because of anything that anyone did wrong, or that they're going to be arresting someone or anything along those lines, but rather they are checking on health and safety. Again, that does not make the situation perfect by any means, and I think there's a lot of room to grow here, and a lot of learning to be done. At the end of the day, like, I am one LGBTQIA person trying to advocate for our community internally. I don't want to speak for Commander Baker, but I am sure he is in a similar situation in many ways. And I just want to create space for anybody else to have any questions or thoughts on this process. But yeah, wanted to give that 2 cents.
I'd like to add something with respect to community building, because it takes a lot for a community to come together and for people to feel comfortable. There are organizations whose mission and work actually is, involves community development. And while a bar may have a different place of business, it still represents a community, people getting together. It will be kind of like the similar situation like a church. You have a community that is coming together. Placing that scenario, will be something that will be affecting the community, that it takes years to build a community. And while everyone may have it needs to be in compliance, after all, it should be people working together and government working together and entities working together and departments working together, because the last thing that we want is to affect the community that has taken so long to build, and then create having to start all over again, or creating something new to be able to keep going. So I think it's it's just understanding the significance of the impact of the community too. It's important to take in consideration in the protocol and the existing protocols that already are, that may need to be reviewed or adjusted or something. But that's my comment in respect to community building.
I would also say one, I didn't mention it. Lisa Frank has been very instrumental.
We lost Commander Baker for a second. Don't want to cut off his thought while we're waiting for him to come back. I'm pretty sure he was going to talk about Lisa Frank, who is our COO and oversees our Department of Public Safety. So she is the person between the mayor and the director of public safety. So she is that middle person that oversees public safety as well as several other departments. And she is with it to the very best of our ability. She understands the concern here. She wants us to do everything in our power to not only expedite the process for P-Town to come into compliance and be able to have whatever events they want without the concerns of any other occupancy checks, but she also understands the genuine impact that this has had on our community and the kind of fear that this creates at a time where we are members of our community are already experiencing being targeted and unfairly treated by our federal and state institutions. And so I just wanted to affirm that beyond just Commander Baker and I, like, we also have literally the mayor and Lisa Frank that have actively advocated for us to improve these things so that this is not the kind of situation that we have to continue dealing with and having happen. As you said, Richard, like the idea that this is happening very shortly before Pride, in the midst of a primary season, it does instill fear in a lot of our community members. And I want to validate that because it's real. And our, not only our history, but our current events impact that. And so I'm hoping that he can hop back on to continue his message. But I did want to just say that Lisa Frank has been very, very helpful in ensuring that we're prioritizing this in the midst of everything.
Right. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'd like to add something else that I also noticed when I saw this on the news. And this is something that we also, as a commission, may need to talk more, because I noticed that when it came on the news, the words that they picked from when the mayor spoke in camera was the place was not on compliance or something. So they only picked certain words. So it sends the message, but there were no other words about what we are actually talking, and why. And I think people need to know. And then there was nothing else after that with the media to follow up, to do some remediation. There hasn't been anything positive to try to, so it's only like the focus on the bad thing in all of that. So I think it's something that I don't know if it's through some kind of communication or some kind of statement that they may consider injecting something positive to this story, because it can just escalate from there.
I hear you there. We did, public safety released a statement prior to me knowing anything about all that. The mayor's statement was released in partnership with me overseeing it, but I can understand the need to continue to have more communication about kind of the steps we're taking to ensure that that we're not having this be a reoccurrence, and that this is not something that is happening often, or that we are making genuine reforms and looking at the system and trying to improve it so that it does not, whether it is purposely or unpurposely, target specifically our community or any other communities. So thank you, Guillermo. I really appreciate that. Anybody else have anything else they want to add?
I have another quick thought. Commander Baker, when all of these departments come together to go to an establishment, is there like a meeting to say we're going to so-and-so and in my terms, a raid, or to look at a compliance for this bar? Because my thought would be, well, before you go there, remember this is a community that has sensitivity to this kind of issues with authority, and it was never nothing positive was ever came out of it historically. And you need to have some sensitivity. So maybe that's the training that needs to be done for these departments to understand when you go into a place, especially into a queer space, that you have to have a different kind of understanding, maybe that is different from a straight establishment.
So first off, let me apologize with the internet connection. I didn't realize that someone was still talking. I talked over him and then I cut out. So I missed some of this, but like I heard your question. So if I missed something, I'm sorry to everybody. So my understanding is there is a meeting that does occur. Now, it seems to be somewhat debatable on when. I have heard there is a monthly meeting, and I've heard that it occurs the day of or the night of, both of which can be simultaneously true. But like statistics, it tends to be how you present it, right? So I don't know. That's part of the questions I've asked, like how does that coordination occur, right? I wonder. So I wonder how effective, and I have to think, you have to hope that it would be. but like how effective like cultural competency or awareness training would be. And you have to want to hope that it would be, right? But like, I mean, everyone here is to varying degrees, right? A member of a marginalized community. Now, some of that's due to race and gender, or gender identity, or just, sexual orientation, but, a combination thereof, right? But how many times how many times have we been down this road, right? So I don't know. I think, and when I interrupted the speaker, what I was trying to say, what I wanted to mention was, I would be remiss if I didn't mention how instrumental Lisa Frank has been in kind of like getting the ball rolling with PLI and helping me ask questions. Her and I have the same conversation, which is like, seems like this is the higher level than just the patrol officer on the street, right? So I don't know. I would like to think that, but I also know how like a good chunk of people approach kind of like mandated training like that. I don't know. I don't know what I don't see. I don't really have I don't have a great answer for anyone. But I mean, I think that's a good point. And and I think that like Richard, knowing that you knew somebody that was actually at Stone, just like so many people here with different things in our histories, culturally speaking, I think it underscores, this wasn't that long ago. This isn't like thousands of years ago. This is in recent modern times. And I think there's a fundamental an appreciation of that. But
Okay. Well, I mean, I think that, like you said, you're gonna try to curate some answers to your questions by this Thursday. I do want to kind of know, like, there's a police review board and stuff like of that nature, but like, what does it look like to change a policy or to amend a policy or to say like these people need to be informed? Because it sounds like you were kept out of the loop when, you very well should have been are included in those conversations or would like to be included in those conversations. And I think that, just in terms of next steps, I think that we've addressed our grievances, everybody that could address grievances. And I do want to commend the police officers or the code enforcement officers that were there, because I did hear that everyone was very nice. So no guns were raised to anybody, nobody was shouted at or anything like that. So I do want to commend them, but the action itself of the presence of them was traumatizing. So yeah, I think that to Adriana and to Commander Baker, like moving forward, like if we culturally or community wise, as Guillermo was saying, like we want to just see a policy, and if it does trigger a red flag to say like this could be traumatizing for us, what are the processes for us to have a conversation about it and to actually change it to be more adhesible or behoove the community that you're trying to serve at large.
Well, you've come to the right place. For a number of years, due to lack of interest, I was the chief policy officer for the department. So we do have a policy concerning non-gender conforming employees. We do not have a policy specifically relative to that in the community, right? Or the LGBTQIA plus community and the police department. And there's a lot of arguments as to why that's not a good idea or it is a good idea. But I think when it comes to, I think what can be beneficial here, and I'm willing to help champion this if there, however that working group would get assembled, but to one, maybe put together a policy, for lack of a better word, for the, just kind of like awareness sort of deal. I don't know if that's a training, I don't know if that's a policy, but then definitely figuring out a process for like police involvement in these things, right? or at least Pittsburgh police involvement. We can't control what other agencies do, but I'm willing to champion that if, however, by whatever manner, whatever means we want to do that.
Thank you. I can't remember exactly what our statement says, but I do know that we are putting, or maybe we already have, I'm not sure, Adriana, can you speak to this, a statement about the situation? But I want to be sure that we include all tactful information and make sure that, because like you said, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, we absolutely can create a statement around this, and I'm more than happy to either make a draft and give it to commissioners to edit, or vice versa, of, if one of the commissioners feels empowered to start a statement and I can help with any facts or anything along those lines. I also wanted to say, just based off of something Eric just said, was that if we want a working group around something like policy or education or a recommendation around those things, Julian and Cece, you actually have the ability as co-chairs to create a working group for the commission. So I also just wanted to ensure everybody was informed about that. But if there is a motion to create a statement around this to be able to share both on our website or with QBerg, I'm more than happy to help with that.
Great. I'm just thinking about the body of the state, like the body of it, and just looking towards the future. Like we all said, we want people to be safe. We want people to come and check to make sure that we're safe and things like that. But looking to the future, what does that look like for us, and how things like this impact communities like ours? But yeah, I motion to make that statement.
Is there a second?
Second.
Wonderful. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay. All right, passes unanimously. If everybody's all right with it, I'm more than happy to make a draft, and then either I can share it with our exec committee or with I'll just share it with the entire commission, and we'll go from there if that's all right with everybody.
Great, thank you.
Give edits within the next week or so. We can have that released by Pride if we wanted to.
Great. Yeah.
Be good for everybody. Okay.
I don't
Is
know
there
what
any
your-
other
I don't know what your-
motions?
okay.
Oh, please.
I don't know what your
Andrew.
thoughts or rules are around that, but I'm happy to sign that statement with you.
I'm more than happy with that, but
So don't want to misrepresent myself as part of your.
no.
You know.
It's actually very funny, Commander Baker, and I wanted to tell all the other commissioners that I was told by Director Schmidt that it was very normal for you or to come to all of these commission meetings in the past, or that apparently folks from fire and everybody was sent to these commission meetings in the past, and I was not informed about any of that prior to this. So
Not either. So I would attend on occasion, but it would be like once a quarter.
Oh, okay.
It was never really. I don't really feel until I really don't feel for a long time that I've been able to do anything for the community. This is not a great first step, but certainly kind of underscores why the apathy is not good. So
well, I'm happy that your position exists no matter what, and that we have an LGBTQIA liaison to the police department, because I do think that is a meaningful step, especially in these situations, to have someone that is able to advocate from the inside. And so happy to create room for anything else, but I personally would like to thank you for the work you're doing. I know it is not easy by any means.
And I also like to thank you, Commander, for your willingness to champion, for being in this meeting, because just the fact that you are in this meeting is already the beginning of being able to do something together, whatever it may be. And, everything starts by having these kind of conversations.
thank you. And I saw your sign on the first floor of the building when I came in.
Yes, Guillermo, I don't know. Do you know that you're on a giant thing on the first floor of the CCP? I see your face every single day. It's beautiful.
Yeah, yes, I am on the big picture. Yes, people have told me that. Yeah, I happen to work with the Latino community. It's a big challenge for us these days, and it's just something else that we're trying to make sure that the communities that are in Pittsburgh, are advancing, are living well. Because, after all, this is why the city has a commission, then what would be the point of not having this commission if we are not representing our community and trying to do something that can make it better?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Does anybody else have any questions or comments for Commander Baker or for myself around this situation? Or any thoughts on next steps as well? Okay, seeing none, we're going to go with a statement. I'll send a draft of that around before the end of the week, and we'll go from there on edits. And once the exec committee is able to vote on whether to approve it or not, we will be able to post it hopefully before Pride. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Commander Baker, thank you very much for your time. I really do appreciate it.
No, thank you for the invitation. And, everybody, if I can do anything for you, let me know.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commander.
The last new business item, which is very minor, is just we had a conversation during our exec meeting about making sure that we wanted people to be informed, and a small reminder that it is election day today. And so if you have not voted and you are watching, please go and vote if you are registered and able to vote. And do a little research if you can, because I think it's always important to be informed voters. But if anybody else has any thoughts, comments, concerns, or events related to Election Day, I'll give some space on that before we move into announcements. Yes, Guillermo.
I do. You may see tomorrow, actually, or the day after tomorrow, the announcement of the 2025 Taco Festival that is sponsored and produced by the Pittsburgh Hispanic Development Corporation. It's going to be on September the 6th. If you would like to have a table, you're more than welcome to have a table, for the commission at the festival. It's going to be in the Street District. I will share the information once I pass the press release with the details and the times and all of that.
Yes, Guillermo. Feel free to share that with the whole commission. That sounds wonderful. And I think it would be a great opportunity for us to table.
Sure. Thank you.
Especially because we have this new tablecloth. We have to use it at every event we possibly can. Wonderful. Any other announcements?
The same old announcement. So True Tea and Trace Brewing, like I said, we have a recurring happy hour every month. Our next one is on June, I want to say 15th, third Thursday. And yeah, like we said, the commission will also be a participant. We'll have whatever info and stuff like that we want to share. And then all of us who want to participate. But like I said, it being open or a front door into a community that want to come and speak to us or have concerns and things like that. We're also participating in Pride and Joy, which is CC taking the lead at the August Wilson Center for a Pride event. And I don't know when that is. I'm going to say June 6th, if that's right. CC is a June 6th. She might not know. She might be off.
I think she may have left.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
We can check back. We can check back on Pride and Joy. Also, Julian, I'm going to talk to you at some point offline about how we can come to Pride on Tap. So that sounds great. At least for me to bring materials and stuff and spend some time. So that sounds wonderful. Any other announcements we have? Going once, going twice. All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah. All right, everybody, look out for my emails. I'll be sending quite a bit, from Pride to Parade to a statement around P-Town, all the positives and all the not so positives. And so let me know if you have any questions. Julian, as I said, I will reach out to you to figure out some Pride on Tap stuff. And I look forward to seeing you all at Pride. And if I don't see you at Pride, I hope you have a wonderful, safe Pride. I hope you have a beautiful and very happy and joyous and queer June. And I will see you all soon. Thank you very, very, very much.